London scene. I've been living in London for maybe 3-4 years now, coming up to 3-4 years, and I've moved all different around different parts of London: North London, West London, East London, South London. And what I love about it is the artist or the writer, I think it's Nicole Taylor, she has so perfectly captured the different aspects of London. And to be honest with you, it's probably how London was prior to us actually living here 20 years ago, but there are still remnants of the vibe of the places in the present day. So certain areas have certain prestige with them, or they have certain kinds of things going on. And it's so fantastically portrayed within the movie. For example, you guys in Holland Park and he's partying, or he's out in Soho and he's enjoying fine dinners and fine wine and mussels and expensive cocktails. He's in Belsize Park, he's kind of aging, they kind of bought a house together, they're a bit more yuppie-ish, they're a bit further down the line. And the portrayal of London in the movie is fantastic. In addition to this, they've also picked up, quite interestingly, the evolution of technology. You've got the typewriters, you've got the pre-mobile era with the landlines and the voicemails and whatnot. And your guy Dex at the beginning, he flips the phone and it's a burger, and tries to leave a voicemail for his mum at the hotel, and slowly evolves to the point where she ends up getting a phone. The phone's got this big landline, like a dial on it, like a signal thing, and he has to pull the stick up for the wireless. And then towards the end, the phones are a bit more coherent, and they're actually typing on the small Nokias, probably around the time when I was a child, mid-90s and whatnot. And so you see the evolution of technology throughout the movie, so fantastically pictured. I myself remember being 12, 13, 14 and the internet started actually properly popping and phones became a thing. Prior to that, it was a lot of TV, landline, and if you pick the phone up, the internet would cut out. It was all through the same kind of connection, wired connection. I think DHL days and stuff like that. So the movie fantastically picks up on the portrayal and evolution of technology. And you're reflecting back on uni years and the progression of people, and how some people are, they were very blessed at the time and they're no longer with us due to uncertain deaths, or something's happened, they've left the country. And it kind of picks up on, so fantastically picks up on the social dynamics between the different class systems or the classes and the changing values over time. Maybe when you're at uni, something you highly value is partying and going out and getting pissed and getting smashed and all this kind of stuff. And then you want fun and you want to be rich, you want to be famous. And you have such a wide, bright canvas and it's pretty blank. You could paint any picture on it, and your life is a similar representation. You can go any direction you want it to. You have all the time in the world. You have every possible eventuality, every possible lifeline exists for you. And as you age, a lot of those lifelines begin to close down, not because you can't do them, just because the sheer entropy you have to overcome just to switch onto them becomes merely impossible for you to switch over to those things. So on the early part, it's possible for you to move over, but because you have all this endless potential, like a sea of variations, which you can swap over into any possible life. And I think the movie fantastically picks up the trajectory of the characters. So, for example, Dexter peaks early and he's got everything he wants, but he's also a massive alky and a bit of a cokehead, and he likes to smoke a lot of fags, and he's a womanizer, right? And then you see him ascend and descend early on, and then relative to that, you've got Emma, who peaks late, and her peak is more organic and natural, and it's more kind of self-built, and it takes time to accumulate it. Also in the beginning, there's a theme of nepotism. Basically, when Dex leaves uni, or he leaves, he actually gets, I believe he gets a movie scene or some sort of media connection through his father and his mother, and that is quite common in a lot of the industries, especially like high-paid, high-profile industries. You'll see sons, grandsons, great-grandsons, uncles, aunties. You'll see all the same phenotype of person, and when you actually ask them, what are you doing on this job, a lot of these people you respect, they aren't the best at it, but they've managed to get in because they know someone who's working there. And it's very common amongst certain select classes of careers and professions within the UK. And to be honest with you, I enjoy seeing them at work, because I know I've worked my backside off to be there, and they've just somehow slithered in because they've got a backdoor key. But that's life, that's the way the society works and the system works, and so you have to appreciate it and love it for what it is. And I think that's quite an interesting theme within the movie. There's also another area when he is holding her hand and he approaches her parents, his parents, and he sees his parents and he quickly releases the hand, right? And I'm not sure if in the original book she was meant to be Asian or Indian, or she was just meant to be of a lower social class than him, like a working class lady. I presume she's a lower social class. And he drops the hand. It's almost like he's embarrassed of his parents' view of him. He has to almost overcome the societal programming because he actually really likes her, but he can't express that in front of his social peers and his social group because they would look down on him because she's perceived to be of a lower status. And I find that really interesting. That happens the second time when they go up the hill and they sit on the top of the hill, and basically what happens is he releases her hand when he sees his mates. And like, oh Dex, what are you doing here? And he drops the hand again. And I find those parts very, very interesting. And to be honest with you, it really pulls on your heartstrings. If you've ever been in love or you've ever met someone and you've grown apart and you spent a lot of time thinking about them, the movie pulls on your heartstrings a lot. It's quite emotionally interactive in that sense. It's quite interesting. I know a lot of men out there pretend they've got no feelings, but you can't be a complete man without being in touch with your heart. We all know that, right? At the end of the day, having an expression, a positive expression of emotion, switches your heart on, which is 5,000 times more electromagnetic than your brain. It allows you to encompass the full spectrum of what it means to be a human and be a person and be alive. And it's just fantastic that it's just from start to end. I was a bit ill earlier last week and watched it over 2 days, and I was absolutely hooked. My mate rang me, he was like, oh come on, watch this thing on Netflix, it's a bit soppy, you probably won't like it, you check it out to see what's going on. And I watched it, and to be honest with you, I finished it in 2 sittings, basically over 2 days. And I feel like the movie has, the Netflix, I feel like it's changed my life. I feel like I learned something watching that thing. And it's a similar time in my current phase of life. I'm having a lot of 360, full circle, ending of a cycle, ending of an era type events in my own personal life. So it's a fantastic thing because I can see it in other people's existence. I'm not just crazy. Often people don't want to talk about these things because they feel embarrassed to talk about them, when really the emotions of being a person and feeling something strongly, when your hair stand up, and when you get chills, when you feel so excited, or you miss someone, or you feel so liberated when they get back together, you're like, you're so good. These are the things that make you a human being, which is what distinguishes you from AI and a computer and a machine and an algorithm, is the capacity for emotion and to feel strong emotions and to be energized by those emotions and have that energy in motion, and that is emotion. It's fantastic to observe it. I hope you've enjoyed the brief video. It's been split over 2 parts. It's a great thing to watch. I'm so happy they've got an Indian woman in the main character series. There's 1.5 billion Indian people on this planet. 1 in every 5 or 6 people is in Indian, right? If you look at social media, all the massive social media stars of Virat Kohli, Yuvraj Singh and various others, they have the most followers of any other social media platform on the platforms because there's more people over there. There's 5 to 6, 7, 10 times more people over there. So if you can tap into those audience, a bit like all the beer companies are doing in the UK now, Carlsberg, Copperberg and all the rest of them, they're trying to tap in. Like there was a Chinese Carlsberg festival that tapped into 123 million people on social media. You have to think about it. The West is probably 500 or 600 million people. It's a beautiful part of the world, but there are a lot of, volume-wise, there's a lot more high proportion of people in other places. So the fact that they've actually casted an Indian female in the first role, and she's not a best mate, she's the main role, and they don't spend time explaining her background, and they don't spend time kind of like going into her religious roots and all this kind of stuff. She just is. It very easily, like a lot of people who are here in the UK, they are just brown by skin. A lot of them have, not the best understanding of their culture and their roots and their language. And I would say that vast majorities of people, they're exactly the same, 99% the same. as your average white guy or girl walking up the street, or black guy or girl walking up the street. And so the movie fantastically picks up on that, because she's just like a normal chick. She's just a normal female, she's doing her thing, and you know, it's fantastic. One final part I want to add to this. I actually watched one of her interviews, and she was talking to this guy, and she was saying how in her early 20s she's grateful to how hard she worked in her early 20s, because I believe she's a month older than myself. She's a month younger than myself. She's about 28 and a half. And she basically said she used to wake up at 6 in the morning, go to uni or college, and spend all day studying, and then in the evening all working, and in the evening she'd go to the comedy club and do in-person live stand-up gigs. And she'd do college or uni or work from like 6 a.m. to 5 p.m, and then from 6 p.m. to like 11 a.m. at night she'd be doing the stand-up comedy, Joe Rogan style, and living off one vegan sausage roll, and just living that life and going back home, crashing, going to sleep, waking up the next day and doing it all over again. And I think that this is a fantastic point to bear in mind, because at the end of the day, when you're 20, you feel like you've got so much energy, you think it's going to last forever. And as you're approaching 30, or as you start aging, you're not less energetic, but you do notice that I used to be able to do 100 times more things, and now I've got to be more conscious of conserving my energy. Even though my energy bar is still high, it's not 100%. And so a key takeaway I would say for anyone trying to follow in the footsteps and be successful along those lines is, and I did the same thing, is when you're in your early 20s, get up and hustle and grind and work hard whilst you've got the energy, and don't wait till you're 30 to decide to make a move on your dreams, because a lot of them will disappear from you, right? And that's another theme within the movie, that there's a guy, and I think Dex goes with Sylvie, and she's a bit more upper class than he is, and basically she's used to a stable financial background and housing, and because he doesn't have the finances, even though they end up with a kid, eventually she runs off with the other guy who owns the bakeries, because she needs a stable income, or she needs finances to fund her basically lifestyle and her source of life, and the way she likes to spend money and whatnot. And I think those things are very important, because when you're younger they don't really matter as much. As you age, you start to realize there's a reason why certain people like certain things, or they're acclimatized to certain things. There are a lot of fantastic themes in the thing. It's not just about love and romance, it's about time, the passage of time, changing priorities, the socioeconomic statuses, uni, trying to find your way in careers, the trajectory, the ups and downs of it. It's fantastic. Anyone who hasn't watched it, it's literally only been out, I'd say maybe 2, possibly 3 weeks tops. It's on Netflix. They've had 15 to 20 million views in the last 2.5 weeks. So for anyone who hasn't watched it, go on to Netflix, right? Plug your speakers in, slap the Bluetooth on and watch it, and I can guarantee you won't be disappointed. You'll learn something from it. And if anything, if any of these ideas, themes, or anything I've said resonates with you and you find it interesting, leave a comment below and let's talk about it. And if I've said anything which isn't quite factually correct, you don't agree with, also leave it below. I'm open to discussion. So thank you for your time and attention. This is the Hustle and Flow Show, episode 13. Thank you for watching. Thank you. Goodbye.